Welcome to our shir, Parshas Shelach, Tafshin Pei Aleph, and we have the very sad story of the Meraglim. As we know, the Meraglim went into Eretz Yisrael, and they were supposed to give a report back to Moshe Rabbeinu and to the Am to prepare them for their trip into Eretz Yisrael. And very, very sadly, they came back and they said there are giants there, and we can't do it. And there was causing great uproar amongst the people, and they were all complaining, and it was really, it was a difficult time for Moshe Rabbeinu. Nonetheless, Moshe Rabbeinu rises to the occasion, and he defends the Jewish people. It says, Hashem kel rachum v'chanu, and he again, goes into the Yud Gimel Midas, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgives them, and they want to do tshuva, and they wanted to go up anyway, and Hashem says, it's too early, don't go anymore. And we know what happened over there. But Moshe Rabbeinu stood up, as he always did, like a lion, in order to defend the Klal Yisrael and to do the thing that was right. He was a leader of leaders. He knew how to lead. Very similarly, by the Egel Azov, Moshe Rabbeinu again, the Yidden went and they did a terrible, terrible thing, and they served an Egel. They made an Egel, and they served an Egel. And they're dancing with Mechalis. We spoke about that. Tried to Melamed Schus and Klal Yisrael a little bit with the Mechalis. And Moshe Rabbeinu again defended them. Shem Hashem Karach Mechano Lomriyas Lomazeh. He was there. And we find Moshe Rabbeinu was a leader with great stolz. Even by the Mei Hamriva, we got in trouble. Shimon HaMorim spoke with alacrity, spoke with strength. Moshe Rabbeinu was a leader of leaders. But in last week's Sedra, interestingly enough, Moshe Rabbeinu acts totally in opposite direction when he's faced with a challenge. And I saw something Rav Victor Miller that made a rosham on me, and I'd like to share that with you and come to a good place and maybe a chiddush in Pirkei Avos, believe it or not. If you take a look in last week's Sedra, it says, Vayhi Am K'Mesaynim Rabbi and Hashem, they were complaining, right? It says Vayishma Hashem, and Hashem hears it. Vayichar Ap, and Hashem's upset. Vativer Bam Eish, and he has a fire going. And then it says Vayitzak Ha'am El Moshe. The Am goes and complains to Moshe, and Moshe does what he always does, like here in our parsha. Moshe dabs. But then something else happens, a story. And we're going to have to understand why Moshe Rabbeinu's reaction was so different than it is in our parsha, in Parshas Shelach, where he takes definitive action. Of course, next week's Seder in Kairach, he takes even more definitive action. And this is the one place where he doesn't, where he reacts totally differently. So we know the Asafs Shebekir Misavu Tava. The Asafs, the Erev Rab, had a taiva, and they start talking about the daga, the abatichim, the melons and the fish, and they start to cry, and all Klal Yisrael cries, and it's the Torah compares it to all they had is the mun, and then the Torah gives the explanation of what the mun is, how you made the mun, how you cooked the mun, and what does Moshe Rabbeinu do? So Moshe Rabbeinu turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he tells Hashem. And he goes into almost a monologue of a number of psukim. And he says, did I give birth to this? Was I pregnant with this? Did I give birth to them? And can I care them? Like the nursemaid takes the suckling, and I remember hearing famously from rebellious Svei, Zatzal, what does that mean? Yisa Ayman as a yainik? Because a child cries a whole night, keeps parents up the entire night. They don't give up on the child. They don't say, "Oh, you're not a good boy, not a good girl. We're not going to take care of you." Of course, they take care of him. It doesn't matter how long the kid can cry for a week straight. Sometimes they do, and the parents take care of them. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, "I've been like that. I've taken care of them 24/7, 365, right? 24/7, 365. I can't do it anymore." As they say, ich kennisht. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, ad kidei kach. Moshe Rabbeinu says, v'im kachat oiseli, if that's what you're going to do to me, hargeni no, haroy, kill me. Hargeni no haroy, kill me like twice, double lashon. I can't do it anymore. Factor of Victor Miller. Shelach, we see in our Sedra, he's a lion. Kairach, a lion. Egel Azav, a lion. Maybe a lion. And here, he can't? What is different about this challenge? Says Rav Vigdor, that all of the others, there was something fetching them. There was a reason. The Egel Azav, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't come back. Shelach, the Meraglim scared them. When Meraglim, but the Klaus, what do you want from them? They panicked them, right? Kairach, he was jealous. He had something going, right? Here, there was nothing. Here, they were just unhappy. He says they're unhappy. That Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know what to do with. If you have a general problem, I can solve your problems. I can work on them. No matter how bad they are, we'll work on them. We'll figure them out. But you're generally unhappy? You just, nothing, you're down to the level of worrying about sardines? Can't do anything for you. Makes me think of a baby. Take care of a baby, right? So if the baby's hungry, you know what to do. You feed it. The baby's wet, you change it. The baby has a toothache, you put something on it, a little schnapps, something on it. But the baby's just kvetchy, and you have no idea why. You go, please tell me what's scratching you. You're almost begging the baby to tell you because you're going crazy. You don't know how to handle it. So that Moshe Rabbeinu says, unhappiness, general unhappiness, I can't handle. Says Rav Vigdor that it's not just a matter of unhappiness that was bothering them. They're not happy. It was more than that. When a person's not happy, he's in effect saying, I'm not grateful for what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing for me. So Moshe Rabbeinu was saying, we went out of Mitzrayim. We had the Makkos. We had the Kriyas Yamsuf. All the Nisim, the Anan HaKaved, right? We had the cloud. We had the Mayim. We have everything HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing for us. And we're unhappy? That's not just a matter of unhappiness. It's felt in our Avodas Hashem. It's felt in our Avodah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Says Rabbi Vigdor, he said, you cannot really be a frum Jew unless you're happy with what Hashem is doing for you. That's a frum Yid. And it's a funny thing. We're very funny people. Our happiness is so fragile. A person can be gesund, mamish gesund. Walk into a hospital and you'll see a lot of people are not gesund. And you're gesund. A person's gesund. And he's well fed, right? He has food, right? And he's not, chas v'sholom, living in the 1940s, right? He's got everything good. One thing he doesn't like his lunch, he's unhappy. It's a little bit of a kfira. It's a little bit of a kfira in that HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a little bit of saying what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for me, and what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for me, it's not enough. I want more. I'm unhappy. So unhappiness is a certain level of unhappiness with Hashem. And it's felt in the Avodas HaKodesh of a person. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu became so depressed. Problems, I can deal with problems. I can deal with Egel. I can deal with Meraglim. I can deal with Kairach. I can deal with it all. But just that you're fetchy, you're unhappy, sardines is bothering you, fish is bothering you, melons is bothering you, I don't know what to do with that. Hashem, I can't. For that, Kenished, Harigeni Naharag. And that was what Moshe Rabbeinu said. So we see an important yesod in our Avodas Hashem, that our happiness is part of our Avodas Hashem. Feeling good about what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for us, being happy with what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for us, being grateful for what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for us, that is part of our Avodas Hashem. And that, when they had the Asafsu, Asher B'kirma B'sabu Tava, they had a taiva out of the Stama taiva out of nowhere. That's an unhappiness. They were bored. They were bored. So they became unhappy. And the Yivku Kabinei Yisrael, everybody did. It spread like wildfire, because one person's unhappy, it spreads to other people. So we have to realize that we have an achrayus. We have an achrayus to be happy. So important was happiness that we know that the Nevi'im, when they wanted to be misnab, they have to be in a good mood. A Navi has to be happy. And they used to play music. That's what David did for Shaul. Remember, Shaul had a problem with depression. And David Amel played for music. And that's what the Levium did. And that's what the Levium did in the Beis HaMikdash. The Levium played music in the Beis HaMikdash in order to make everybody happy. So when they came in, they could do Avodas Hashem. They could be Oyved HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I heard a story. My friend Rabbi Yossi Ashkenazi told the original story, Heilige original Torah, that there was a chassid who needed parnasa, and his wife sent him to the original Rebbe. He was original chassid. She said, "Go to the Rebbe, ask him parnasa." He goes to the Rebbe. He goes to the Tish. He's so inspired. He gets into the Rebbe, and he gets a bracha from the Rebbe. He forgets totally to ask about parnasa. So he comes home, and his wife said, "Did you ask him for parnasa?" He said, "Oh, I forgot. I forgot all about it." Wow. And this happens 2 or 3 times. Finally, she's beside her, says, "You go in and don't forget this time." He writes down, clips it to his sleeve, little with a pin, "Don't forget." So he goes to the Rebbe, he asks him for bracha parnasa, gives him, he says, "Rebbe, I don't understand. Why do I keep forgetting? This is crazy. I need parnasa. I have no parnasa. And every time I come to you, I forget about it." So the Rebbe, it says by the Kohen Gadol, on Yom Kippur, he went into the Kodesh Kedoshim, and when he came out, he made a bracha, he made a tefillah, Yiratzon, that should be a Shana Shchuna, it should be a pleasant year, it should be a year filled with rain, it should be a year of Gashmias, it should be Gavaldik. All the brachas, all the tefillahs, the Kohen Gadol B'Yom Kippur. So the shaila is, Dr. Rishner, why did he say he went from the Kodesh Kedoshim to the Kodesh? He went outside the Kodesh Kedoshim to say this tefillah. He says, why didn't he say tefillah in the Kodesh Kedoshim? Kodesh Kedoshim is much more heilig than the Kodesh, right? That's why it's called Kodesh Kedoshim. So would it seem to be that a tefillah should be when he's mamish once a year, only one person once a year gets to go in to the Kodesh Kedoshim. And why didn't he say it there? Doesn't make sense. Sagt the Heilige Rishner. Because when he was in the Kodesh Kedoshim, all the Gashmis didn't seem like anything. All of the other things in life, that's not what's important. You're in the cocoon of Ruchnius, your cocoon of Kedusha. It's so heilig, it's so gemaltig. You can't. How can other things? Narishkeit. So you have to go out to the Kodesh in order to daven for these things. He says the same thing by you, my chassid, my beautiful chassid. You come in here and you say, "Oh, Kedusha, Tahara, I don't know what to do with myself." And you forget about the parnasa. All of the parnasa doesn't become something important. I heard B'Shem from Nachman of Breslov that he used to go to Shal Shudas by the Maggid. And he says, all the years I was there, I never heard a word of his Torah. I said, why? He says, because I would go in and he would say, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe Leimer. And I would say, Vayomer, Oy, Hashem el Moshe Leimer. What Kedusha, what Tara. And for 15, 20 minutes, I was mamish so enraptured in the Kedusha of Tara, el Moshe, Hashem Moshe Leimer, that I didn't hear what he said. By that time, it was finished. So we go into a place of Kedusha, of incredible Kedusha. So the rest of it becomes not so important. So we have to have the simcha. So we come back to our simcha, and that simcha zachayim, the simcha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of feeling for what HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for us, of appreciation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu does. That's the happiness. That's our avodah, and that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was upset about. Moshe Rabbeinu says all the other things I can deal with, but just general unhappiness, just fetchiness, and a lack of appreciation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't know what to do with that. So you know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu's answer was? Very interesting. He says, Baltic. He says, he told him, go, I'm going to appoint 70 people. He says, but it doesn't say what they did. What's 70 people helping him? Remember, he already had all of them from Yisrael. They already had all the hundreds and tens. So what are these 70 Yidden? What are they doing? He says, because Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't privately go to every single Yid and inspire them. He didn't have the kaichas, too many people. So you had to have 70 darshanim, 70 magidim, 70 surrogates, the kingdom that they're going to go out to Klal Yisrael and teach them what's important in life, and teach them about being happy with HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you, and being satisfied, and being a Sameach B'Chalkai. And with that, I'd like to explain perhaps a chiddush in the entire concept of Pirkei Avos. In the beginning of every parak of Pirkei Avos says, Kol Yisrael yesh lam chelik la'olam haba. And everyone, and the question all the Mefarshim ask is, you could say at the beginning, Kol Yisrael yesh lam chelik la'olam haba once. Why do we say at the beginning of every parak? And if you take a look at next week's parak Rabbi, it's from the famous Ben Zoma, and we'll just say it outside. Ben Zoma says, Ezel Chacham, right? What's a Chacham? Ezel Halayim Mikol Adam, Ezel Gibor Kaivishes Yitzro, Ezel Asher Asamech B'Chalkai. Now, those are all nice aphorisms, and they're beautiful, and they all make sense, and they all mean something. But how do the three tie together? And how does that tie together? Kol Yisrael yesh lam chelik la'olam haba. And what's going on here? So I'd like to say that what the Kol Yisrael yesh lam chelik la'olam is explaining what is Pirkei Avos about. Pirkei Avos is about our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and how to become a person that is serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu the proper way and doing the right things and becoming the Adam HaSholem, the perfect person who's doing it all right. Now we know nobody ever gets there because in Tzaddik Baruch Asher Yasa Tov Lo Yachta, there's no tzaddik in the world that does it all right without making some chet, without making some mistakes. But aspirational goals. As we know, we have our goal and our stretch goal. Our goal is to try and be as best as we can. Our stretch goal is to be perfect. We might not make it to the stretch goal to be perfect, but the best we can, hopefully we can make it. So every single parak starts out to say, Kol Yisrael yesh lam chelik la'olam haba. You all have a chelik la'olam haba. Every year is guaranteed. But how big is that chelik? Are you going to have a little piece of land up in the Golan Heights? Or are you going to have something in central Yerushalayim? Right? Are you going to have something in the middle of Midtown Manhattan? Are you going to have something around the boonies somewhere? Where is important? You all have a chelik. Pirkei Avos, I'm going to tell you now how to get to that chelik. So everyone has wisdom. There are three basic components. You have wisdom. You're a chacham. How do you use in the avodas Hashem? How do you use to perfect yourself to become an avodah Hashem? Laimim Mikol Adam. You have to use your chachma as broad spectrum as possible. Not narrow chachma, broad-based. Learn from everybody. Ezel Gibor. How are you going to use your kayach gvura? Kaivishes Yitzra. You're going to be somebody who's going to be like a Yitzchak Avinu. You're going to learn from Yitzchak to use gvura the proper way. And then it says, Ezehu Asher. How are you going to use Ashirus? Hasameach B'Chalkai. That's Ashirus. Whether you have $1 in the bank, or you have 1,000, or 1,000,000, or 1,000,000,000, or 1,000,000,000,000. You're only if you're happy doesn't mean anything. And you serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu by being Sameach B'Chalkai. And that's really what the Yidden would disturb Moshe Rabbeinu so much. Moshe Rabbeinu says they have Ashiras, they have the man, they have all the Nisan HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they have the love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they have Vaida HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why are they unhappy? Something's wrong, I can't do it. I can't teach them all how to be happy. It's above my kaiches. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, take 70 people and they're going to help you. And the pasuk says, Hasamech b'chalkai. If you're going to be happy, you're going to be samech b'chalkai. That's how you're serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because you're happy with HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you. So it's not just a matter of, from a psychological standpoint, being a happy person, or being a strong person, being Kavod Yitzro, or being a chacham. It's all avodas Hashem. It's all how you're going to take your chelik la'olam haba and make it a bigger chelik. That's what it's all about, and that's why it's in the order of chacham, gibor, osher. And the last one is the osher. Mechubed is a little bit on the side, but Ezel osher, second last. Ezel osher is the sameach B'Chalkai, the person who shows that happiness. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us. He wants us all to be sameach in all the things that He gives us, side begashmi, side beruchnius, and that's when we'll have true assurance. That's what will be sameach B'Chalko, and that's what Moshe Rabbeinu wanted. So we come back to our Parshas, we come back to Parshas Shelach, and we see that the people were unhappy because of a reason, because they were afraid about Eretz Yisrael. And therefore, that unhappiness, for that reason, was so strong that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, the next generation is going to go into Eretz Yisrael. This generation cannot, because you're not happy with the idea of going into Eretz Yisrael. You are so unhappy that you can't be the ones to go. We're going to go the next generation, and they'll be the ones to go into Eretz Yisrael, Yetz Hashem. So we go through a very, little bit of a rough parsha in terms of Moshe Rabbeinu, and how the Rabbi Shalom reacting to what seems to be a rebellion of Klal Yisrael. But ultimately, and we'll talk about the Mitzvah in a future week, when we look at how Klal Yisrael always responds to these rebukes, once the passion passes, once the time of trial passes, they begin to rethink things a little bit, and they say, you're right, we overreacted, let's go up. And it wasn't the time. That was the answer. But the fact is that Klal Yisrael took a look, saw their issue, saw their problem, and were willing to change. So we are teachable. We can be unhappy, but if we think about it, and we think about our Vayz Hashem, and really if we learn the Torah, and we think deeply into it, and we learn Musar, and we learn everything, we can come to be different people. We can come to understand our happiness. So when we look at our 95% of everything in our life is going good, and there's a little piece not going good, and we can focus on the happiness part of it, not only will we be happier, not only will we be more satisfied in life, but really that's our Avodas Hashem, because we're grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for all that He gives us. Halavai, we should be able, because we know happiness is in the mind. Happiness is up to us. You find people who are fabulously wealthy and commit suicide, and you find people who are desperately poor and have a shmeichel. So happiness is a psychological thing. It's up to us to be happy or to not be happy. Halavai, the Rebbeinu Shalom, we should daven to Rebbeinu Shalom to help us, give us some seichel, so we should know the importance of being happy. We should be able to become happy. Use that happiness for Avodas Hashem. Be the Osher, which is Samech, Bechalko. Be the Gibor, who's kaivis, that's Yetzirah, to be unhappy, to go and be always looking at the bad side of things. That's also Kvishas, a Yetzir. And if we're able to, all that will serve the Kadosh Baruch Hu. In the end, we'll be happier. Why not? And we have a wonderful Shabbos, and enjoy Parshas Shelach. And we'll learn many, many more lessons of Yetz Hashem in the Parsha and in future Parshas weeks to come. Have a good Shabbos.